Well, welcome back to episode 2 of the Leadership Lessons on the Field podcast. So this episode is going to talk about leading by example. So when reading the book, the term leading by example shows up a lot. So can one of you explain what that means?
Well, I think leading by example there's a lot of different ways of leading by example. I think that any administrator, teacher, or coach has a presence. Leading by example, you need to show people that you care, that you're concerned, that you listen, that you have empathy. Those are all ways of leading by example, of being genuine, listening. So I think, and the diligence that you put into your job goes a very long way. But diligence is big. When people see that you work harder than they do, that's a tremendous way of leading by example.
Absolutely. And I think everyone is observing the leadership. And as they observe the leadership, they're learning about that example. They're learning how you work, how you solve problems, how you think about them and their work. They're learning how you think about the whole purpose of the organization, the mission and the value and the solutions and the dynamics. And they're learning about how genuine and how much they belong to your team and how genuine you are with them. So even though you may not, one may not even realize it, but we're teaching others about who we are by how they observe and what they see us do. So our actions, as the old phrase goes, speak louder than words. And our actions are incredibly important if we want to lead a team to really feel they belong and really do the work at a very, very high level.
So those behaviors that we want to see within the team members, by the team members, I think what my colleagues are saying, the leader models those behaviors and gives them an example to see how it's done. I like to think of it as, and this I guess sort of indicates my age and where I am in the whole educational experience, but professionalism. And that at all times, through your appearance, your speech, your behavior, you're acting in a professional manner. The other part about leading by example that I think is very important, that there's no job within the organization that is too menial or is below the dignity of that leader to perform. And sometimes it comes down to rolling up your shirt sleeves and helping unload the truck or paint lines on the field and so forth. And when team members see you doing that, I think they're a little bit more inclined to.
Let me talk. I remember we brought in Project Adventure at Cold Spring Harbor. And I brought in a person to teach the physical education teachers how to teach Project Adventure. And I remember I as an administrator, as the director of physical education athletics, I sat in on the same training. So I trained with the teachers. And I remember one of the teachers saying to me, it was extraordinary that you wanted us to learn, but you took part out of your time to do the same thing that we were doing. It wasn't like, okay, you're going to do this and I'm going to do this. So that shows like Fred was saying, that you care and that you're willing to do perhaps what others wouldn't do.
The work, yeah.
And in the process, garnered a whole lot of loyalty, respect on the part of your team members without, announcing that this is what we're going to do or here's our agenda, but just simple, hey, I'm part of you. I'm
And
part of
that's the
group.
humility of leadership.
Yes.
That's
Good.
the ability to say, I'm just like you. And I'm the learner here in the building with you, or on the field with you, or wherever it is. And when we all learn together, we grow together.
Like I said before, you're not afraid to do anything that anybody else in your organization would do, whether it be the custodian. I know I cannot walk personally. I cannot walk through the gym on my way home. If I see a piece of paper on the floor in the corner of the gym, my OCD tells me I gotta go pick that up and put it in a garbage can. So, it's mindset. It's what you're built with. You don't learn that stuff. It's what you built. I guess you.
It's why you do the job you're doing.
You learn it because you absorb it from other people.
Yeah.
Like I said, one of my mentors was my father. So, you may not have acknowledged that, but you soaked it in. So it transcends into who you are.
You're reminding me, as a new assistant principal years ago, as a very young person in that role, there were kids who lost their retainers, their braces that they were wearing temporarily. They go to the cafeteria, they put it on the table where they're eating. All of a sudden it's on the floor. Next thing you know, it's in the garbage can. And the custodian is asked to put some gloves on and see if he can find it or she can find it.
God.
Well, how many assistant principals have I known, and including myself, get the gloves, put them on, and start digging in the garbage because the kid needs the retainer, and then making sure that the retainer gets to the family and gets cleaned up, et cetera, et cetera. Or how many administrators, coaches, leaders, directors, principals ride with the child to the hospital? Maybe there's some nursing issues in the building, somebody's absent, there's one nurse left, you can't let the nurse go because of all the other kids. You're not going to pull somebody out of class. You jump in the car and you ride with the kid to the hospital.
Sean, Greg Popovich, the former coach of the NBA Spurs, he said, and I firmly believe, you are what you are.
Yes.
You are what you are.
Yeah.
I said this at the outset. When you first meet someone, like I met Fred at one of our meetings years and years ago, and there are many athletic administrators like this, principals, superintendents, that they don't speak that often, but when they do speak, they have something to say, and you listen. It's not like the boy who cried wolf. They speak now and then, but when they speak, they have something to say, and it's noteworthy.
What are some situations where you had to be courageous as a leader, and can you provide an example?
Sure. I think we've all had those experiences.
I believe
and
so,
in
too.
particular, I think it's most clear to us when there's some news that a person may not want to hear, but you are responsible for delivering that news. Maybe it's feedback on a particular project. Maybe it's the fact that they didn't get the new job they were hoping to get, or the promotional position they were hoping, or the extra assignment they wanted. Whatever it is. And I think the way we do it, the way we manage it, the courageous conversation is what makes it effective or not effective. And I've boiled it down to a simple statement. I think we have to be kind to the individual, dignify them as a person with strengths, competencies, and care, and be hard on the facts. So where the facts need truth and hardness and clarity and courage, the kindness is to the person. So I think we all do that. That's part of our interest and personality and character.
In my personal life, I've found that, and I was blessed to have parents and grow up in a community in which a value system was instilled in me with integrity and honesty and trustworthiness and hard work and so forth. And that value system, again, my personal life, I found it easy to make decisions because I had this sense of right and wrong that had been ingrained. And in the educational setting, I think the same thing applies when it comes to these situations involving conflict, which, as Jean said, it's inevitable. It's going to happen when children are involved and their parents and emotions, run wild. And for me, similar to my personal life, and I think we have mentioned this earlier, that in the educational setting, it's all about the children. I like to say it's all about the kids. And what we do is for the children and everyone in that organization. So when it comes time to these situations that are uncomfortable, let's face it, it's difficult to say no to people or confront someone who is, there's hostility in the air. But for me, it comes down to the kids. Well, really, whatever happened, what's in the best interest of the children? And if it is a school employee that perhaps acted inappropriately to or for that child, or conversely, if it's a situation where it's really in the child's best interest that we discipline that child or remove that child from, in this case, the athletic setting or from the classroom, or something less severe than that extreme. To me, the decision comes down to, okay, what's in the best interest of the child? And that sort of sets the stage for that conversation that we're going to have. And we kind of steer that conversation in the direction to which we, as that experienced leader and educational administrator, feel is how we're going to resolve this. And in the course of rendering a decision or discussing a decision, good communication skills are necessary, where we look that person in the eye, we're respectful, and in a calm voice, we make our points known, A, B, and C, regarding a situation that has occurred.
I think that as an administrator, like Jean and Fred have said, we face these critical conversations now and then. A true administrator cannot be afraid to make a courageous decision. If you can't, then you shouldn't be an administrator. Whenever you make a decision, and I'm not so sure, Jean, that I've been always so kind when I'm talking to someone that I have to make it's an admirable quality to be kind to the person. Sometimes it's hard to, but I'm one that's filled with quotes. So Roy Danforth, who was the basketball coach at Tulane University, said whenever you make a decision, 50% of the people are going to agree and 50% of the people are not going to agree. Mm-hmm. And that's a successful decision, 50-50. So, I think that you have to be able to make a decision based on thought process, logic, and like Fred says, and Jean says, it's all about the kids. I've always said, if I'm evaluating a teacher or a coach, I say to myself, do I want that teacher or coach teaching my daughter or my son? If the answer is no, it's not going to work. So I always use that as a measuring stick. And if I feel, oftentimes someone is very popular, very successful, but if they're not good for kids, it's not good for the organization in its entirety.
And that idea, Jim, is related to another task, responsibility of the leader, and that's supervision. And what I'm sure we've all found this, that if there's a criticism in education, and as well as any enterprise, I guess, in any organization, is that leaders failed to perform their responsibilities in terms of supervising staff. And I know that I've found a lot of the problems and these conflicts that arise, it's with that individual that maybe shouldn't have been promoted or granted tenure or given a certain assignment, that it seems to occur multiple occasions, with certain individuals. And to me, that was always someone failed in the supervision process.
That could very well be because they may have seen the pattern, but were they courageous to the point of this conversation to deal with it?
Because some people, and perhaps it's part of nature, are uncomfortable delivering negative messages. And some people, just can't do that. But that's a major responsibility. And
I
it's
want
an
to add,
important one.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Just got excited after listening to what you said. I want to add something because one of the situations that I've seen again and again, more after I became a little more skilled at handling it, courageous conversations, seeing the person open up about the situation and say, I really want to fix it. I'll fix it. I see what happened. I want to fix it. And I have to tell you, my excitement and respect and enthusiasm with that person just shoots to the sky. And I don't ever not follow up. I always follow up. It's not just a conversation, So when you do follow up, you find that they understood. And they felt strong enough to be able to say, I'm gonna fix it, and I will. And they do. And then you think, wow, I'm so glad that I, had the opportunity to help with that. I feel humbled that I had the chance to take care of that for the child who got the benefit and should get the benefit.
A lot of the topics that we've discussed they're interconnected, and that's personal growth that Jean described, and that's again what a leader is
always trying to do.
Instead of in addition to the regular job of getting the job done, whatever that may be, but it's also our responsibility for personal growth.
Well,
personal and professional growth.
Rashawn, I'll also say this, that my mantra in anything, and people that know me will often say, tell us how you really feel. Quote, if I tell you the truth, will you still be my friend?
Yeah.
So if you can't tell someone the truth, whatever it may be, and they don't want to be your friend,
that's too bad.
you just move on.
Amen to that.
That's right.
We're in education because we wanted to do something with children. And I think back to my father and the example that he showed me, because he coached thousands of kids. I watched them interact. And that's the thing that we're involved in. What's good for the kids? What's best for the kids? Whether it be the teacher, whether it be the coach, whether it be the cafeteria worker, whether it be the custodian. There have been custodians that have been let go because they're not good with kids.
Yeah.
And
to have that opportunity to work with boys and girls, young adults, for me, and I'm sure you both agree, it's an honor. It has been an honor. It's been a privilege to be able to, in the case with Jim and I, in the world of movement and athletics. And remember that the title of the book is Leadership Lessons from the Field, and that field literally is the athletic field. And And it's leadership, just like in the CEO of General Motors or Disney or whatever. Leadership is leadership. And very important for that inspired leader to understand leadership and develop those skills so that they're adept in the skill and art of leadership.
So my next question is, given that you guys are all administrators, how would you advise a new administrator?
Go slowly.
Take it slow.
I think you have to, I think Fred went from Manhasset to Wheatley, two different kinds of places. And you have to adapt, understand, the nuances, the differences. And I think you learn on the job. I know I went from 14 years at one school district to Manhasset for 8 years. You go slow. Look, listen, learn, work with colleagues. I remember walking into Muncie Park for the first time. I didn't, somehow I went in the back door and I had a coat on. And this woman, Dr. Kendall, came running by and said, "How did you get in? Who are you? Who are you?" And I had to introduce myself. I remember that, right?
Well, the word went out.
Yes, and some stranger was in the gymnasium. But
All we needed to hear was that somebody was walking across the field.
yes.
And if we didn't recognize him or her from the window, sometimes you did,
Right.
If you didn't, same thing. Well, thank you, Jim.
But no, I think you just have to. You have to sort of play it safe. I've always advised other people taking on new jobs to just go slowly and become accepted for who you are.
I have two examples about that. One of them is when you're a teacher, you know that some of the students in your class are quick learners. They're the kids who always know right before you even finish the question what you're trying to get at and where you're going and with the lesson. And then other kids are slower learners, and both are fine. So they're in your faculty, in your parent group, in your colleagues. There are going to be people who catch on right away, and there are going to be people who may not catch on right away. And so you really have to just say, I'm going to go slow. I'm going to listen, as Jim said, and Fred has said. Now, I have a very specific example. I walked into the school that I was principal at for 23 years, having been an assistant principal in the other school in the same district. So most people knew who I was. But one of the teachers, in a very, very stern way, said, "Hi," one of my first days, "let me tell you like it is around here."
Oh.
And I said, I said to myself, "Oh, this is interesting." But I said to her, "Please do. I'd love to know." And that was the best thing I could have ever done. Because she came and sat down with me and told me like it was. And I needed to know all those things. Within half an hour, I had the lay of the land. But what if somebody had said, "What do you mean? I'm the new principal," and didn't go slow and didn't listen? I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah. And sadly, that's the persona of some quote-unquote leaders.
So when you ask what would we advise of a new administrator, I would advise if somebody wants to tell you like it is,
Let them tell you.
listen, because you're going to learn what you need to know.
One of the most productive learning experiences for me, as I indicated earlier in another episode, I really was unprepared for the daily grind as to what it meant to be this leader in an athletic and physical education environment. One of the best learning experiences for me was attending professional meetings and conferences. And the organization across New York State has an annual conference. But even league meetings and so forth that you attend with a whole array of seasoned veterans, sometimes beginners as well in the same position. They all have the same issues, the same problems. And if you're smart enough to realize it, pick their brain and talk with them. And I found most people more than willing to share their experiences. But attending those professional conferences just produced a lot of just worthwhile good advice and suggestions. Another thing that, in this case, the New York State Athletic Administrators Association, they had, I forget what they call it, but it was like a sharing table where you were asked to bring policy statements and letters and so forth that you shared with everyone. And you just learn and you get a lot of experience, again, from people who are dealing with the same issues that you're dealing with. And me, as this new administrator, had no experience. And so that was valuable. And it goes back to the mentor as well. If you can avail yourselves of someone who, offers that advice.
Another piece that I think is part of this puzzle is a piece that I've written about in another book with a colleague who worked in my building. And we call the book Positive Proactive Pathways for Professionals. But the subtitle could very well have been Get Ahead of It. You're a new leader, you're in a new situation. If it's a school, if it's an athletic event, if it's an athletic team, you know what you've got. You've got the students, you've got the staff, and you have the parents and relatives of the students, whether they be playing football or in third grade. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
Parents are going to advocate for their kids. Somebody's going to make a mistake somewhere along the line, because people do. Let's see if we can keep those at a minimum. And some people are going to be very quick learners. I'm talking about staff and all yourself and everybody, around the world. And some are going to be slower learners, quicker learners, whatever it is. So it's going to be a constant movement of all these moving parts. So let's not be super surprised when student A's family shows up persuading you of something they think is good for their child.
And what did you say? Stay ahead?
Get ahead.
Or get ahead.
Get ahead of it.
So
you know
get
what's
ahead.
there.
Exactly.
Get ahead of it. Think
Get
it
ahead.
through.
Plan relentlessly. And if it comes down to in the world of athletics, squad selection, because that's a hot point, where kids are cut. So get ahead of that by talking with staff and making plans and have a clear and present policy that's distributed to everyone, distributed to parents and student athletes
Parents
as well.
and students.
So great example, get ahead. And you can avoid some of these situations that involve conflict. And
We were doing a behavior code when I first went to the school, and sometimes whenever you're first in, you're thinking about the behaviors of your students. So we started to have a team with teachers and parents and myself and such. And then I said to the team, I said, well, let's think about it. Why don't we have a 5th and 6th grader, one from the student council 5th grade, one from the student council 6th grade. Let the kids pick, have the student come to the game here. We're planning a behavior code. Well, it was probably the best thing I could have ever thought about, because we get there and we're writing all these rules and such and such and such, and the 5th grader says, Dr. Kendall, these rules are very reasonable. This is the kid talking. He says to me and to the team, he says, how are we going to be sure the kids follow them? He says, you need to ask them to sign a pledge, because if they sign, they'll do it. If they don't sign, they might not pay any attention.
A 5th grader?
A 5th grader. I could tell you his name, but I don't,
good advice.
It was remarkable. I said, that's a wonderful idea. We incorporated every year, pledge, every single year.
Yeah.
You know, you do learn, like a fledgling administrator, a new coach. You do learn by making mistakes. And I think a good teacher, a great teacher, a good administrator, a great administrator, is someone that always looks in the mirror and self-reflects and says to themselves, I didn't handle that correctly. I could have done this. And I think there are not a lot of people in all ways of life. I know as a coach, I always would say to myself, after a game, after a practice, did I do it correctly? Was I clear? Was I concise? Did I treat that person correctly? You know, it's like, personally, like if I am speaking with my wife of 50 years, she'll often say to me, are you talking to me or are you talking to one of the kids on the team? Because, you know, it's who you are. So, you know, I think it's important to be able to look in the mirror and say, I messed up. I gotta make it better.
Well, you may not have messed up. Maybe you don't have to be bad to get better.
Yes.
You can always do better.
Better.
And you can refine, you know, your teaching, your leading, your, I guess, being a spouse too. Maybe that's
Yes.
where we are sometimes, right?
There's a line from a country song, failure is not a failure.
What's that?
There's a line from a song, failure is not a failure if a lesson from it's learned.
Yeah.
And I thank the people in the first district in which I taught and became administrator for allowing me to make all those mistakes and hopefully learn from those mistakes.
How about this quote? Victory has 1,000 fathers,
Yeah.
and defeat is
Is an
an
orphan.
orphan.
Yes.
Here's another one
I have a
that could be
leadership quote
attributed
that's
to
good.
an administrator. If you're an administrator or a coach and you keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can walk with kings and if you can meet them with triumph and disaster and treat those imposters just the same, you'll be a man, my son. Rudyard Kipling.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah. So
It goes for
I think I
women
recently
too.
sent you something, right, about something.
Yes, you
Yes.
did.
Yeah.
I have one that I get these every day. It's called The Tip of the Day in honor of a woman named Frances Hesselbein, who was the CEO of Girl Scouts. And she died a couple of years ago. She was 104. This one's a good one, and it talks about growing all the time. Becoming our future self is a powerful decision. Try it. Become your future self and think about what actions you will regret not doing. Now return from that journey and start living that life right now.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Good advice.
Strategic leaders ask a lot of questions. They're curious, they ponder the answers, and perhaps offer alternatives. Questions of yourself, too. So many of these. Oh, man,
Yeah. There's a lot
good thinking out there.
of things out there.
So, to end off this episode, your question is, what have you learned in your career? Your title.
Director of Physical Education and Athletics.
Principal, assistant superintendent.
And I was district director of physical education and athletics.
So, what have you guys learned in those positions?
I'd like to segue into a line from a book
Mm-hmm.
it's a book about writing, like journal writing. And it talks about give it all, put it all out, don't hold anything back in your thoughts when you're writing, because your thoughts will build and fill from behind like well water. And that image has always stuck with me. When you're leading, Give it all away. Give it out. Don't hold back. Don't be afraid to give it out. And it will refill inside of you like well water. And I think I learned that.
Well, I think, Fred, you said before, the complexities or the, you know, and once you understand that, you can accomplish what you have to accomplish, because it's a never-ending thing. You can think back to your career, it was 16-hour, 18-hour days.
Yeah.
And I found that I was always learning and stretching, and when I retired, I was probably doing the best work of my career. But I go back to, it was a rewarding career, and I was humbled and privileged to have done what I did, and to work with young people, and to have the opportunity to make positive contributions to their lives, and in some cases hopefully improve the quality of their lives, was something I never, when I began my career, never realized what the potential and what the results may have been. So
The students make us better.
oh, absolutely.
If we really listen, they make us better.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, I learned more from having that opportunity
Yeah.
than maybe what I ever gave to any of them. So I've been blessed.
Yeah, I think, I remember someone asking me about, I don't remember the exact question, but I think as a coach or a teacher in ministry, you want to be relevant. You want to be relevant in their lives. Impact, that's the biggest thing. Building relationships, having an effect, being impactful. That's what is rewarding.